Hello out there, guys. Welcome back to the channel. Today, I've got two wonderful guests who I'm very honored to have on the channel. And before we get into it, though, as normal, if you're new around here, please consider subscribing, liking, sharing this content as we try and help other people see through the false light veil, as it were. But without further ado, I'd just like to introduce two people, two very brave people. We have Ebony Wilson and Ray Mann. So, hi guys, how are you?
Hi,
Hey,
Tony. Hi,
pleasure to be
everybody.
here.
Really
Good,
nice to be here.
great to have you. So, we're going to get the full story in a minute, but as you guys will know, if you've been subscribed for a while, about a year ago, I did a review on Eldora and Siman, and funnily enough, as time played out, these people have really upset a lot of other people, and we have two people here now who actually worked for them, and are now speaking up against them because well, ultimately they're harming people. So which is what this channel is about. So, without further ado, I'm going to shut up now and I'm going to give the floor to Ebony, first of all. So, take it from the top. How did all this start? How did you get involved?
So, really quickly to piggyback off of I need to quickly thank you, Tony, for having me on to talk with you about the Exposed documentary that recently was released on my channel as well. And ironically, when I came on board to work for Eldora and Siman, I need to actually apologize to you right now while we're in this interview because
Was you the
um,
one deleting me from all the? Yeah, I knew it.
I might have been. No, I never deleted any comments, but one thing I did do, and I remember your video coming out because I was about a month and a half, almost 2 months into working with them,
Right.
and your video came out, and I saw it, and I watched it, and I left a comment on it too, and I think it was something to the effect of, I appreciate counter points of view and stuff like that, but at the time I felt like you were just making a clickbait video, and so I said something to that effect while watching your video, and then I just left and never came back.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's just funny to me now how after everything that's happened, everything finally comes full circle, and here we are talking. So, and that to say that even someone like me, as inundated as I was working with Eldora and Saman, I too was tricked, essentially. I too was taken advantage of, like so many people. And with this documentary, I feel like even gauging some of the comments that have come in after watching, these are the people right now who are directly in the line of fire, who are directly being impacted, maybe even the most at this time, but because we believed them so wholeheartedly, so
Yeah.
willingly, so lovingly, and to be taken advantage of in this way, that like I'm trying to reach these people as fast as possible to let them know, guys, I myself was in your position. Ray was in your position. The
Yes.
speakers who you've heard from in the documentary, we were all in your positions at one point. So to hear, I just want to use your discernment as much as you possibly can going forward. At least hear our story, know what really happened, because what is being presented to people and what is happening in the background are two completely different stories. That was the story initially why I began doing the documentary, Tony. I'm still kind of recovering myself from this trauma of having worked with them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I decided to dive head into telling a story that I could, which was the stories of all of these wonderful, brave people who have come forward to regurgitate what happened to them.
Yeah.
Okay. That was the story that could be told immediately and um and accurately, I guess, because these guys are still out here. This is all happening in real time. And that's something that I also want to stress. It's like This is all still going on right now. We are still actively engaged in an online battle with these cult leaders, essentially, Eldora and Siman. They're not good. And that's kind of where motivation for me began to do this. Not really having the time, the funds or the expenses to, but knowing how important this project is and doing a service to the people who were so brave enough to come forward as much as I possibly can in the time scope that we have,
I think
which
the
is
the documentary is incredibly well done, considering how rushed you say things have been, and how raw everything is. I think it's credit to you all for putting something so comprehensive together. I mean, I know just putting these 15, 20-minute videos out, it takes a lot of time. The editing, the music, everything. Yeah, and I think the thing that gets me and the thing that makes me sad and both sad and angry, because we're allowed to get angry over here, believe it or not. It's a natural human emotion, but of course, these teachers say that you can't, or if you do, you're in your head or in your mind, which basically stops you from discerning and thinking. But what really upsets me is, and what I got from you all in the documentary is just how you were all souls that just wanted to help. You were in for a cause, and I could feel that your intentions were all good, and they really used those against you, which I'm sure you can put more meat on the bones around that. But and this is what a lot of these, and it's not just Eldora and Siman, it's a lot of these prominent New Age teachers, and that's what I do, because people are getting harmed, they're getting suicidal. I mean, it's really incredibly bad what's going on, and it's all shrouded in this love and light, unicorns, rainbows, and that's what makes it so appealing for people, I think, because it feels so good on the surface. But so just continue your story from there then. So how did you first get involved, and what was the process?
For me, the process was just looking for. I run a tarot channel, which is where the documentary was released, and I was just looking for um, like tools for meditation. I was not really into the whole, I guess, like the 3D versus 5D, that kind of online battle going on, or I mean, was I into knowing about the occult and knowing about the deep state, stuff like that? Yeah, but that wasn't my intention for getting involved with Eldora and Siman. I just wanted to learn more about healing practices, meditation, things like that. And so I started attending some of the workshops that they were offering online. And and at the time, I really did feel like I was receiving great healing from that and benefit. And I probably did. I'm sure I did, just from how I felt. But it was, it was shrouded in something else entirely, of course. But my background personally, I'm a video editor. I work in the film industry. I started doing online marketing to promote my own work in this venture. And when I heard that Eldora and Siman were hiring for staff, I was about 8 months into following them. And so I just sent my resume in and to see if they needed help, because I saw that they were starting to transition into that space of trying to promote themselves more. And so I thought I would love to be a part of something like this and to lend my services where they could be greatly used and needed, frankly. And I believed in them. So um, I got hired on, um, and it was a funny hiring on phase, because um, and I just recently, in fact, began working with new clients, and I can already tell the difference between working with the sheer difference between working with people who legitimately do you right versus these people. It's like when you're working with companies who legitimately do you right, they are eager to to make sure that that hiring phase goes as smoothly as possible. Whereas with Eldora and Siman, oh, prove it to us first that you're good enough, and then we'll think about and then we'll really think about hiring you or paying you even. It's like you have to prove it to us first, and then we tell you how good you are at what you do. And
That's
then
like,
yeah, and then we determine how much we think you're worth. There's a girl, of course, those of you who have seen the documentary are familiar now with Frederica Ree, who the second episode is pretty much geared towards telling her story. When she was terminated, I was essentially given her salary. I found that out basically. Because in fact, my normal salary to do some of the work that I was technically not even charging them for is double what I negotiated to come in. I agreed to the rate, and but I was essentially just given her salary, and they kicked her out right as I was coming in, and it was just atrocious. And I never put the picture together. I never, and I just it makes me so mad, like just to think like how taken advantage, like when you, of course you've heard her story by now, but like listening to her and seeing her story, and just it makes it frustrates you to no end to know how taken advantage of she was. And Ree herself is someone I just have to acknowledge for just a moment, because even she herself, in spite of all this, she's the most vulnerable of us all. She has the most doubts, and even recently had the most doubts about coming forward with her story because of how vulnerable it is. And this is why I'm determined to bring this information forward to the public. I'm even more determined now because it's people like her that have really suffered
yeah.
this, and it just cannot continue, Tony. It cannot.
It,
Oh, what
it's
else to...
it's often the vulnerable people, often people that have had a lot of trauma as well, that get
Yeah.
hooked into these things because again, you know, it feels good, and I think a lot of people, obviously, in this world, they have things like abandonment wounds. Perhaps dad wasn't around, mum wasn't around, or both parents weren't around, so they grow up looking for a family, and
Mhm.
so I think these sort of setups provide, you know, a really strong family unit. I saw some of the footage there where everyone was like sitting together, and you know, Eldora and Siman are, you know, smiling, and she's nodding when he's talking, and he's nodding when she's talking, and so yeah, it's very kind of like parasitic, I would say, the way they go around it. So I remember from the documentary you mentioned about when you first started, they kind of love bombed you. Could you
Mhm.
just expand on a little bit about that?
So, love bombing in the sense where, like in the chats, we have a private chat with Eldora and Siman, and then we have like technically group chats with everybody where we bounce ideas back and forth with one another. They're kind of telling us what they want done, do this, do that. And anytime, of course, we're coming up with new concepts and new ideas, they are really about I guess telling you how good you are, and just like really boosting your ego, stroking your ego to that degree. Um, and for those of you who don't know, my part of my background too is I'm an actress. I work in the film industry. I'm also acting, and I there's a clip of me. I was in Iron Man 3, which I'm featured handing Gwyneth Paltrow a clipboard in Iron Man 3, and one of the Sestara, as a matter of fact, I think found this clip of me online, and I guess I'm drawing reference to this because there was an instance like this where I can remember. I never broadcast that to them, like, "Ooh, look at me," that kind of thing. But it was shown to them that I was in this movie. And so that was kind of like a, "Ooh, let's praise Ebony" kind of a moment, and little did I know though that that was going to kind of change later on in Eldora's comments to me. Like, she kind of, in the video, she says it feels like you want to get back to your 3D acting career, stuff like that. It's those kinds of things that I noticed. It's like at first they loved you for it, and it's like you had something to offer, maybe an end that they didn't have, and so you were valuable in that way. But when suddenly in their eyes your performance went down, or you weren't giving to them as readily as you used to before, then all of a sudden, Ebony, you're in your ego. It just feels like you're separating. You just want to get back to your 3D acting career. You don't care about any of this. Mind you, I'm not even like talking about any of this stuff with them. They know nothing aside from that one clip. They know nothing about my background in film, really, really and truly. But it was those kinds of things for me anyway. And then what I noticed with the others, Eldora kind of had like a voting structure sometimes in the groups where um, I felt like they would bounce ideas, like test their theories on us before they would test it on an audience, if that makes sense. So they would try to um, get our opinion on stuff and to see where everyone was, and then and also to kind of see where everyone agreed, where everyone disagreed. But it was all kind of like being steered in the direction that they wanted it to go in, because if it's like if I gave my input, they took that input, but then they didn't use it, or they didn't want, or they, I don't know how the the right terminology is. They took the idea but wanted it to be theirs, and then
May I add one thing?
yeah,
One thing.
maybe.
So yeah, these chats, right? It was so they were telling everybody that they were psychic, and they have this really, really strong connection to their guides. But really what they were doing is they were going in these chats, and sometimes Eldora would go in under Siman's account and etc. But all of their ideas came from the chats, right? And one of them was, hey guys, we got guidance that we first the question came, hey guys, where's a good place? What's a good state to live in the United States? Florida, Texas, or California, right? And then, there were some responses, etc. And then a follow-up to that was, hey guys, we got guidance that our guides are telling us very strongly we need to go to Florida. But if you just if one would just read the chats, remember what they read, that was exactly what was happening. Is the audience was providing all the content, and they would even their New Earth Mystery School, it was actually plagiarized. The Melchizedek Mystery School was plagiarized from this couple in Mount Shasta. It's the Mount Shasta Pyramid. That's their website. And their names are Antera and Omaran. Almost rhymes a little bit. But as far as we know, from what we heard when we were in Mount Shasta, is those people with the Mount Shasta Pyramid had expelled Eldora and Siman from their program.
Oh, really?
Yes. And so we decided, because we were looking for excursions, and we're like, well, here's a place we might want to take our group of 12 or 13 it was. And somebody said, who was at the Costa Rica retreat, most of us had gone to the Eldora and Siman retreat in Costa Rica. And actually everybody there was 18 people in Costa Rica, and then there was 12 people in Mount Shasta just a few months after for the summer solstice, and it was one extra person. And so we were looking at different, activities, and that came up to go to the Mount Shasta Pyramid. One of the girls said, no, let's not do that, because this is what happened. Eldora and Siman were expelled from that school because basically for plagiarism. So their whole, if you go look at it, if you look at their Melchizedek Mystery School, the people who really started it, 20 years ago, everything is there, right? It's the Order of Melchizedek and Metatron and stuff like that. So it's an Isis. It's all that same.
Mm.
You know,
A lot of it's repackaged though, isn't it? A lot of people in that scene, they just sort of take it and repackage it, don't they? So,
bingo.
but does, I was watching one clip, and I'm sure I heard that Simon was saying that he was channeling God or something, and she was
Mhm.
channeling like the divine
Isis.
feminine or something
Yeah.
like that. I mean,
Yes.
when did that all happen? Didn't he have like a breakthrough or something? Something happened. I mean, it was just crazy to watch.
It was I don't know if they were referring also, he supposedly had a walk-in experience, and
Yeah, I tell you what, he has had a walk in. It's not from God.
what do you think about that? Is that something that's real? Because I think you've mentioned it in some of your videos. You know, it was all new to me. I really didn't know what to believe, and you know,
Well, I mean, when I look at both of them, they're possessed, but they're not
they
possessed
are.
by something good. I mean, Simon especially. I mean, I don't know how much you know about what I do, but it's you know, I go like looking at the dark side and stuff like that. But Simon,
A
when
little bit.
I just see these dark eyes, and I just see something very nefarious working through both of them. But of course, you know, these beings are very clever in terms of how they package things, and so how that being would express himself through them would be on the surface very love and light and use things, and we hear it all the time. You know, they always use things for anyone that questions or doubts. If you look at any of these cults, it's you're in your ego, you're in the mind. You know, they don't want you there, because if you go there, you might work out actually they're frauds, right? So they're always trying to demonize the mind and the ego. Um, so yeah, I would say that whatever's working through both of them is, yeah, not definitely not God.
Absolutely.
Or God.
Yeah, no, I'm actually that's one thing that I find remarkable, Tony, is that, you know, Ebony, myself, and some other people were physically with Eldora and Siman, right? And we spent a reasonable amount of time together. I don't think you've met them, but you've absolutely hit the mark with who they are, exactly how they're operating, and all their tactics, and your discernment, might I say, is something that I think many of us can learn from, and I really appreciate that you're out there sharing what you're seeing, because it is the truth,
Needed.
and you are telling it like it is, and you are too, Ebony. And so I just wish, you know, I had seen it earlier, but then again, there's lessons in all of this, right? So
Absolutely.
I met some wonderful people, people I wouldn't have met otherwise, and it's like their bravery is growing. I think, you know, there's strength in numbers. So when we come together, there's a safe space where we can open up about this, because for a while, I mean, I was one of the first people that went through this before Ebony and before some of the others, and so there's this isolation period where, I mean, if I had said this stuff a year ago, I just don't think it would have really stuck. And it's just one person. I was just one person saying that. But now you have dozens of people who, you know, even the people who know intuitively there's something off here, there's something not right. They're speaking out also. And Ebony has been working really like very diligently on uh, getting the documentaries and the series together and out, and she's told the story in such a beautiful way that I've seen some messages from people saying, thank you for sharing this, thank you for doing this. Like I had a feeling something was off, now I know, and you know, I'm not gonna go down that road. So it is helping. What you guys are doing is really huge, and I think we're just going to see more of this. Just because this is the truth. This is really where this is just the way of things, and you know, it's just about us getting into alignment with it. So keep doing what you're doing. It's really it's what we need. So I applaud you guys for
Well, thank
dedicating
you, Ray. You
time.
know, you're being brave here, speaking out, and you know the documentary is not just going to help people that are caught up with Eldora and Siman. It's going to help a lot of other people as well.
Absolutely.
And
I say that to other people as well. I mean, this is a trend, right? I mean, and this was happening all in 2020. I mean, I got onto it just real quick. I actually saw Siman in my YouTube feed as a suggestion. And this is about April of 2020. And at that point, you know, that was right at the beginning of COVID and all of the lockdowns and all of the news. Everything was all about COVID, COVID, COVID. And it was a perfect time, you know, for people like Eldora and Siman to sort of sneak in and say, hey, you know, we're offering, you know, this is our message of you know, of being in a higher vibration, and it was so seductive, actually, you know, and we get caught up in the sensationalism and idolatry. But you know, the thing is, I ignored my intuition on multiple occasions, but I knew that I had to go down that path. I knew that I have to do this. And even though at times I knew that things weren't right, I knew that I have to go through this. This is sort of like a rite of passage. And even look, in Costa Rica, there was 18 of us, and we were promised an initiation. Our group was promised an initiation into the Order of Melchizedek, right? Most people had never even heard of that, right? But it was essentially them, you know, presenting themselves as having access to these really, really high frequency, high level guides. And you can have that too if you know, if you do what we say, or if you
shut
follow
up about
that,
it.
right? And then there was some you know, there's always drama in all of the Eldora and Siman events. There's always something that's manufactured that's, you can just tell. And all of a sudden, there was something very petty. They said that, oh, there's 3 girls in this group who are backbiting, and so we're canceling the initiation for all of you.
Group punishment.
So, right? And then, so I think, I mean, most of the group was just stunned and didn't really know what to say. And but it was, again, it's that 180-degree turn, right, Ebony? It's that pattern.
Did they tell you that your frequency was too low now? Something along those lines.
For those 3 women,
you're
yes.
not in the 5D frequency now, so we can't do the initiations. I bet it went something like that, didn't it?
More or less.
More or less.
It was three women who were supposedly backbiting, and they were put on under the spotlight in front of the rest of the group. And 2 of them were in tears, you know, and it was just and then out of the blue, also, there were so many things, strange things out of the blue. Like there was no context to this at all. One of the meetings at the retreat in Costa Rica, Siman just sort of burst out crying, and you know, everybody's just kind of like, what's going on? It's like, oh, it's just about the children. Siman feels very deep, and you know, and it's staged.
Right, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's all staged. It's scripted.
Right.
It's a show, and this played a very important role in another stage of my awakening.
Just to unpack that a little bit more, could you see straight away that he was putting it on?
You know, I mean, I wanted to. It was my intuition, Tony. It was me just ignoring my intuition, and I would just be that one guy in the whole group, right? That and it was just like I would be going against the current, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you had to pull rank.
Right? And so I said, I mean, I just went along with it, right? And I think that's kind of one of the themes. People just kind of go along with stuff even when you know, they feel like, oh, you know, I'm not resonating with this, or there's something off about this, and it's just so quick in the moment. And but you ignore your intuition, and
I describe it as,
you do it enough.
and maybe you can verify this, but I describe it that people that get caught up with this stuff, they get put under like a false light spell, and it's almost like there's a haze where normally they wouldn't really, like you say, normally you'd think, well, that's just BS, like what he's doing there, and you disregard it. But there's this spell or this haze that falls over people's, like a veil as such. And I refer to that as like the false light frequency, because the energy that they're working with is literally a false white light frequency. And it puts people in this kind of hazy, like the lights are on but no one's home kind of thing. I don't know whether that's something that you experience.
Even down to some of the music. I just wanted to jump in there for just a
please.
second. I think even some of the music that they use, and I can especially speak to this after attending the last event that they held with the New Earth Mystery School, for the Hermetic Principles of Thoth, which was completely plagiarized by other spiritualists and activists out there. I'll just name Billy Carson as one of them from Gaia TV, and everyone else there who has covered the King's Chamber and everything else going on with just studying the pyramids of Giza. Anyway, but the meditation, just that meditation, as I was listening to it that day with Eldora and Siman, and I'm noticing and I'm hearing like the frequencies that they use in that music, that really, really lowers the vibration. It puts the mind into a certain kind of a fear state, if you will. And when you do that enough to people, I truly believe that you're causing them to be dependent on you, because you put them into a state of fear, and then you're telling them you're the only source through which they can gain enlightenment or ascension, right? And then so they believe it, and they think that, so they keep coming back for more, and that's how they keep their audience addicted, truly, to that.
Yes. Tony, you are absolutely spot on with what you're saying about that veil. And these are spells. Okay, let's just cut right to it. Cult is short for occult. Okay, and I mean, this is some version of witchcraft. Okay, especially with Eldora, and these spells are very real. Like you said, it's very dangerous. They are very, very dangerous people, because especially the way they come at you, love bombing you. You see, it's got all the hallmarks of deceit, treachery, right? I mean, we can go on and on with all the different adjectives that we can assign here, but it's you're in that haze. You're hypnotized. Okay, you are hypnotized, and you are. It's like those cartoons, right, with the swirly eyes, and you're just and then of course they use the music, right? And that's really a nice catch, Ebony, that because we were paying attention, we were observing these environments, and this is just again some recipe of mind control, right? It's a mixture of spells and affirmations that they're doing. And but now that we're aware of that, I mean, we're essentially immune, isn't that right, Ebony? I mean, to and it's great, isn't it? Because
it's wonderful.
It was the minute we rejected them energetically, block them on our phone, on WhatsApp, unfollow them. As soon as we started doing that, it was like, after that, I felt very, very faint, if any kind of connection to them at all, So it's very important to do that. And we do see there's a group, people like us, there's about 100 or so people on Telegram on a chat, talking about these very things in more depth and their own experiences. And that's where the truth comes from, guys. It's from people's accounts, what really happened. You know, everything else is hearsay, isn't it? But when you really experience it for yourself and other people are saying the exact same thing. I still have somebody from the Costa Rica group who's a good friend of mine, and I sent her a link to Ebony's documentary, and she says, oh, I'm not even going to look at that. Anything that says exposed is like raising red flags and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, listen, I was like, there's, you know, over a dozen people who are sharing their story, and they have all the same themes, all the same patterns, all the same characteristics. And this is what it is, you know, and
This is the
so I think
problem.
there's some denial.
Yeah, but the problem is I've found that with people that are still caught up in those scenes is they want to feel good all the time. And I always say on my channel, look, you want to feel good or you want the truth, right? It's like, because the truth often will slap you around the face, but that's where the gold is eventually. And it just seems from what you're saying there that we see this repeated over and over again within those kind of scenes where, like, they just don't want to acknowledge anything bad. They can't look at anything that might lower their vibration or put them into a 3D timeline or something like that. So they spiritually bypass what they really need to and ought to look at in order to feel good in the moment, which in the long run is going to end up in a car crash anyway. And so, yeah, that's why it's so important to speak about it. So just going back to you, Ebony, and we'll come back to your story, Ray, in a minute.
No problem.
But I just want to get the timeline. So you were working, and I know from the documentary you were being ground to the bone with what she was asking you to do. She sounded like a right dictator, and so just tell us about your workload and the pressures, and then maybe when the wheels started to come off, and how that timeline played out.
Well, we were essentially building the business when I first came on board, because they call themselves a 5D company, but they were using, of course, 3D methods of becoming a 5D company. So
The irony.
Eldora, right. So Eldora herself, she has background. She has, you know, she's run businesses before, obviously, and she knows enough marketing to be dangerous in terms of what to use, what kind of tools to have, that kind of thing. I came with my level of knowledge and expertise working in film editing and online digital marketing using Facebook ads, and the like. That's what I'm personally trained in, and that's what I knew how to do. With At first, there was always kind of there was no structure whatsoever. Everything was just kind of splatted, thrown against the wall and see what sticks, sort of. And then we were trying to build structure, right? So we were kind of doing everything all at once. And they came up with NEMS. Let's build this online platform where we can host events, start, charge people a monthly subscription to be a part of it. And that sets up a security for the business, and it sets up a long-term kind of security for you guys as the employees. So let's put our focus there. So essentially my job was to just start creating the ads, running their ads. And it just takes time, as with anything building, as you know, with editing and stuff. It just takes time putting all that kind of content together. And then not only that, but coming up with the strategy of how you're going to do it, how you're going to execute it. What do they want versus what do they need? What are they agreeing to, not agreeing to? All this back and forth communication. And just so everyone knows, every single piece of content that goes public for Eldora and Siman is approved by Eldora and Siman. Every single piece of content. There is nothing posted on any page without their approval first. And normally that is structure, even with other people and clients and stuff that I've worked with, that is kind of a company policy. But with them, they were extra careful about making sure they had their seal of stamp of approval on everything that was posted. Sometimes you turn something in, you expect revision. And so we're just doing that. We're just doing that. The flow of building, creating content. I'm doing that, putting stuff together, seeing if they like it, what do they want changed, that kind of thing. In the meantime, while I'm doing all of this and we're bouncing back and forth between the numerous events that we're hosting, I'm experiencing computer issues. I'm going overboard with my time because, and I'm doing it willingly. I'm not even really commenting or telling Eldora and Siman that I'm having to work overtime just to fulfill the demands that they're asking of me, because I didn't want to bother them, first of all, with my personal issues at the time of what I was dealing with. And it was almost like, I look at it now, like at every turn, a roadblock was being presented in front of me that was trying to keep me in some way from working with them. Like when I really look back at it, it was like we did a Zoom meeting one time and I was supposed to come on at the very end and talk with them for the first time. And it's like my internet cut out right at that moment. And I just, it was little things like that that kept on popping up. Like I was always having some sort of computer issue, internet issue, something that kept me from really being seen by them, maybe, higher divine guidance protecting me this entire time. So thank you for that. But it was stuff like that that I was noticing. Eldora and Siman had initially offered to help me pay for a new machine. And then when I told them that I was going to upgrade and I had bought the new machine, they never mentioned offering to help cover that expense again. So I was like, okay, um, I just ate that, but I recognized, I thought me investing into myself meant me investing into them, which is ultimately what they wanted. So I told Eldora that I would invest into a new machine for myself, but I would have to forego coming to Croatia in order to go to their next event. And it was around this time as well. I haven't actually covered this in the documentary, so you're hearing it for the first time, but it was around this time that Eldora was starting to write to me, because I wasn't fulfilling, I guess, the things that they wanted me to fulfill, tasks and stuff like that. I was just getting slower and slower, essentially, and I was getting more burnt out because I was having to spend so much time retracing my steps and going back to just to fix things. And so I was just overload. It was just overload. And it's nothing I ever complained about, but it was taking a toll on me mentally, creatively, in every way. And I always did kind of know that if I did ever voice that it wouldn't be accepted. It just, there's no way. And I didn't complain because I saw the other employees too. Like, to me, Liara, who is basically their lead person as of now and has been for the last year or so, um, I saw this girl working her ass off, busting her ass. And I was like, how can I possibly complain when I see someone like her just constantly going, 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 going? It's like, I'm like, no, I'm not even going to compete with that? So, and it became then though an excuse for me to dumb myself down and not say anything where I was feeling overworked or exhausted, because it was like it was expected of you. So, why why challenge that at all? Um, was there another part of that question? I feel like I'm kind of going all over the place with
No,
that,
it was
but
just the question was like, when did the wheels start to come off, and their attitude started to change, and then ultimately you lost your job. So I just
right.
wondered how that played out.
Um, so So right after Saman, again, they test the Thoth channeling on us as a group, right? That was in October. Saman writes in and he tells us that he's had this incredible channeling with Thoth, and we believe it, of course. And My birthday, as a matter of fact, was just a couple of days right before that. And so it was like and mine and another girl actually, uh, not Ariel, Amber. Our birthdays were right around the same time. And so they were kind of love bombing us in the group and stuff like that, you know. But then, like 3 days later, it was boom. Saman has the stuff channeling. Eldora, something about the way she wrote, the way she communicated, you can just feel her competition literally with Saman. It was like
Oh, so they were in competition with each other.
it was not spoken. It was subliminal. It was just you felt it. It was the way she um when she assigned me a task of creating an ad for Saman to cover his stuff channeling. It's hard to describe, like the way that she was talking to me in our chat. It was just like one text after another, boom, 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 very harsh communication. And I was just having so many issues keeping track with everything. And they literally communicated 1,000 different ways. And so it was just, I got so overwhelmed literally with just keeping track of everything that we were doing.
Ebony,
Yeah.
that's by design.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
by design.
Yes.
It's intentional. It happens with every single person. Hearing you talk about it reminds me of what I was experiencing also. And I wasn't employed by them. However, I worked as a volunteer because I was giving my time to the community.
Right.
I thought that was a great opportunity to come together with like-minded people and to raise our frequencies together. Real kind of simple, you know. And she had me. What Ebony was saying, same thing. Okay, I was getting one text message after another. It was like a gun firing off, and before you can even read the first one, there's another one. And these were not short messages. These were just like, like paragraphs, and it was one after another. It was a barrage, and you didn't even have time to respond to any of them. And then it was like, see you later.
And if you don't respond in time, then you're falling behind, and that's even worse. And you have no time to respond. And then also, when now they're getting other people to attack you in the same manner as well. So it's not just these comments and these demands coming from Eldora. It's literally all the other people in our group firing in the same manner at you, one after another, after
So
another.
it's almost like they isolate you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This is the most epic narcissism that you will ever encounter. And
But was there a reason that they isolated you? Did you do something to upset them, or?
I don't know. That's really the truth. I think Eldora, and I maybe can trace it back to how I was hired, is that it was always in the back of my mind that my job was kind of hanging by a thread, if I'm being honest, on the line, because I think Eldora was constantly trying to test my level of knowledge and to see how good I actually was at doing my job so that she could again determine if she should be paying for it. So it literally felt sometimes like my job was hanging by a thread, and I had to overperform and over deliver just to prove how good I was so that I wouldn't get kicked out, essentially. So I knew there was that tension between us. I think Eldora was looking for any reason to find something that wasn't good enough about me so that she could let me go
And
because of
these
it.
are the people that tell you never to judge.
seriously,
Like,
right?
sounds like
Everything,
one giant judgment to me.
yeah, everything you're not supposed to do.
That's
They're
what makes me
they're
laugh
doing
with
it.
them. You're not allowed an ego. They've got the biggest ego ever. You're not allowed to judge. From what you've said, all they ever do is judge. Like,
I mean, I mean, you know, and all this talk about stepping in your power, and when you are in your power, you know, hey, your frequency is off.
Yeah,
It's
you're in your ego. You're too powerful for us. You're in your ego. Get down, get down.
And if you question that even a little bit, oh no, we
yeah.
can't have
So
that.
what happens then when you challenge these people? Or did I guess that rarely happened, right?
I can just give you an analogy. They basically throw you out of the moving train.
Right, yeah.
Basically.
Okay,
You're done for. Yeah.
that's it. That's it. If you so much as say, I mean, you know, we're talking about rivaling like Nazi behavior here, and if I'm just being flat out honest. I mean, this is the most dictatorial, narcissistic, power mad, you know, that I've ever seen anybody. Okay, and the slightest disagreement, and you're out, you know, we're going to throw you out the moving train. And it's almost like what Ebony was describing. I wouldn't say that it was entirely personal, Ebony. It's a little bit personal. Eldora will take every candidate into consideration as to how much she wants to, um, torture them energetically, so to speak.
So it kind of doesn't really matter about the person. It's just something that she does to everyone,
Mhm.
like a life
Everyone, they're
every single person, Tony, everybody. If you even look at the pictures, like you said, oh, we're, this togetherness, the whole image of family, they are actually the ones who are encouraging the breaking of families, like, and encouraging people coming into the movement. Don't talk to your mom, or
yeah, I heard that.
when are you gonna divorce your husband? I mean, what kind of question is that? When
Yeah,
you
I
divorce
heard
your
that.
husband?
well, even editing some of the footage. In fact, there was a video. Thank you for really bringing that up. That for Nicole, that I edited for them. I put subtitles to a video that had been done while they were in Croatia. And they were literally talking to Nicole about not communicating with her family, and Nicole's sitting there going along with it and agreeing and all that. And I'm looking at this and I'm going, and I'm literally editing this, guys, and I'm going, this really doesn't feel right. Like it
No,
doesn't, I can't believe I'm sitting here editing this right now. And I'm like, what do I even do? Because I don't know what to say. I can feel the tension
Yes.
from these kids, but at the same time it's like they're going along with it because they don't want to go back to their lives. But it's like, guys, you don't realize what's happening here. You've isolated yourselves with these perfect strangers in a foreign country, and they're telling you don't feel guilty if you don't want to contact your parents, or you have to isolate yourselves again, away from everyone.
that's
And
just
to someone, one of the points you guys made earlier about noticing, I guess, like reptilian or dark energy from Eldora and Siman. Yes, and some of the footage that even I edited of theirs, I saw it myself. Um, their Whether it's facial structure change or their eyes looking really funny, it came through in the videos.
yeah.
I
Well,
saw it. Mhm,
I saw his eyes, especially when I
mhm.
first laid eyes on him. But obviously, I look for that stuff, so I know that look. I've got experience with that look. But yeah, I mean, the in the documentary, I think the lady doesn't speak to her husband, or they tell her to break up with her husband, or
Yeah.
I mean, this is absolute cult behavior, isn't it?
It is. It is. It is. And it was I remember when we were signing up for the Costa Rica retreat. This was at the beginning of 2021, end of 2020. And one of the requirements for coming to the retreat was to pick a spiritual name, and you have to, And so it's just this the way they use identity,
Mhm.
and they're
Spiritual
saying,
ego,
well,
isn't it?
it is. It is.
It makes you feel special because again, a lot of people they come to these things, they've had a lot of trauma, they haven't had a lot of love, and then someone says, right, pick a name. Okay, I'm going to be like Osiris, whatever, and it's like, oh, all of a sudden,
Yeah.
you feel good about yourself.
Yeah, you feel special. And I do want to add to the point that you brought up, Tony, about trauma. And one of the unhealthy patterns we've seen in the light worker community is trauma bonding. Okay. It's like, you've been through trauma, I've been through trauma, let's be friends, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of those are very short-lived relationships, you know, and I've seen it myself. And it's, you know, people have a lot of healing, and that's okay. I'm not here to judge. I've had to go through healing. All of us have had to go through healing,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
we're just here to help. And we don't want people to go down these pitfalls if we've already been there. And we're just saying, hey, you know, look, you may want to look out and reconsider. This is the experience that we've had, and, you know, use your discernment. Learn from our mistakes, you know. And certainly we're not here to you know, to get in the way of anybody's journey. Rather the opposite. We're here to encourage people to really you know, really think about what they're doing. Do you, anybody, you know, guys, anybody who is coming in between your connection to the creator of all that is, I mean, that's just the biggest red flag, you know. When you're strong in your connection to God and to the divine, you don't need all of these middle beings and, you know, the Metatrons and
No, you
all the
definitely don't
different,
need those.
right? And all these and essentially, again, it's just another kind of idolatry, right? Or putting a figure on a pedestal or an archetype, and ignoring your connection to God and ignoring your connection to the divine, really. Where you know, you hear all this stuff about affirmations. I could just tell you guys really quickly. You know, affirmations can be tricky, right? I mean, if you're like, you know, if you're reading those memes and those affirmations every day, like, oh, I am abundant, but in the back of your mind, you don't believe it. You're just reaffirming that you're not abundant. And typically abundant, when you're in abundance, you don't have to really reaffirm that, do you? You're just in it, and you're just being, and you're just doing it. So you know, I grew up in a Muslim family, okay? And, you know, we weren't super religious or anything like that. But, you know, here we are. You know, we're living in the United States, you know, this, you know, and this country was founded on you know, biblical principles at the time, right? And so reading the Bible just as a source of law, but on that journey, you know, and just also I want to be a little more you know, understanding of people's faiths as well. So the one affirmation that me, as somebody who grew up as a Muslim, the one most powerful one is, surprisingly, when I said Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. I'm just telling you, it just absolutely removed so much of the darkness and negative energy from my life. And that's just me, okay? I just wanted to share that. Somebody who's not from that kind of background, I'm not really trying to get religious, but I'm just telling you the point of affirmations, okay? And I just found that I don't need all those affirmations that you see on Instagram, or that, you know, these guys are posting on Telegram, and you know, a lot of them are just like a superficial kind of distraction, and it's sensationalism, right? And it's just, and then you're seeing those same memes and everything every day, and you're just going on a merry-go-round in a circle. So my point is just that if you connect with God, if you connect directly, and don't allow any of these middlemen intercept your energy, you're gonna be
Yeah,
much better off and save yourself a lot of trouble, a lot of heartache.
yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, this is what I talk about all the time, the new age, where I think that personally we should all be heading to is towards being sovereign. And you know, like you say,
Absolutely.
realizing that we are powerful and we have, you know, we have that connection. But the new age, and to certain extent religions as well, they want to put all these middlemen in between, and so that connection to self, to sovereignty gets severed. And then the problem is that you have all these people that, you know, are looking for something outside of themselves to come and quote unquote save them or help them or change their life or something like that. And it just takes the personal responsibility, the sovereignty away from the person. And so what happens is we end up spiritually bypassing and never getting any further forward than what we started. So yeah, but the thing is, the other difficult thing is as well, like especially right now, people are realizing, hang on a minute, I've been lied to all my life. You know, everyone's finding out about all the corruption going on, and you know, we can talk all day about all of that. And you know, there's this cabal and everything. And so people are now more than ever, they're looking for something. They're like, oh my God, look at all of this, especially the people that have woken up over the last couple of years. I mean, I don't know about you guys, I've been aware of things for like 10 years, but to wake up in this period now with things as crazy as they are, of course, people they go into a shock from just learning about that. And then what the New Age movement does, and other movements, is it catches them. It catches them like a butterfly in a hand, you know. And of course, everything's going to be all right, you know. All you need to do to get out of this is think happy vibes, and you're going to be on the 5D timeline, and you know you're over the rainbow bridge, and that's it, right? And of course, right, when you wake up to this chaos, this nightmare, you'll be like, oh my God, oh thank God. So the New Age just catches people like that, and it's very, very cleverly crafted, and the way they've layered it, and you know, it's genius. I don't like any of it, but it's genius what they've done, and it catches all these people that could be really useful in taking action against, you know, what's going on, but then they end up in this haze, this spiritual haze. I don't even like that word these days because there's
Well, one thing I wanted to really try to attempt, even with the documentary, is because, and this was the one quote that I think I mentioned in the documentary too, which is the love, light, and fuck you, basically, because we have to have that level of, yeah, there is love and light, but we also have to have that level of discernment, which is that fuck you, okay?
yeah.
Because you're not going to take advantage of my how does Eldora put it? Don't take advantage of my kindness, right? Don't mistake our kindness for weakness here. What is that?
That's about the
But
only good line that she's come out with.
right. But one thing I did want to try to stress in the documentary, and especially with this previous episode, um, because we do go into such a dark place, I did want to give people a sense of hope at the end of this, to know that just because we did go to this dark place, the fact that we woke up really kind of should be that hope to you, that you are you are capable of recognizing what's real, what isn't, and how to navigate through this. And yeah, have your moment. If you realized you were tricked and you know, this happened to you, own it. It's okay. It happened to us all here. But the moment you realize that, that is really your catalyst point to take charge back of this situation and move forward again, because when you have your sanity back, there's no greater feeling, truly in my and in my experience through all this, there was no greater satisfaction than leaving their vortex, so to speak.
Yeah,
None whatsoever. I For a while, one of the things I guess I noticed I was going through right as I was leaving is that, of course, I didn't resonate with the content anymore. I didn't even want to listen to their meditations, let alone participate,
Oh yeah.
let alone do anything for them. I knew I was on my way out, okay, even before I was terminated, but it was like I don't resonate with this anymore. I don't want I'm only here right now because I need a client. And but when I find an out, I'm taking it, because that is the only, and when I realize that's the only reason I'm here right now, that's terrible even for me to say. I don't ever want to feel that way working for somebody. You know what I mean? And so to own that, I was like, the moment I got out, it did take me a while. It took me a while to even want to meditate again, or to um just to kind of get into that flow or that practice for myself. and I felt like I had built such a wonderful routine for myself, but I was like, I just need a break from it all for a second here. I don't want to look at anything. I don't want to talk to anything or anyone about this. And then I realized, gosh, this is how deep in it I was, because I didn't talk to anybody about this. I didn't let a single person on the outside in my regular life know that I was working for these people. Why? Why? If I was okay here and doing what I felt like was the right thing and the right work, why wouldn't I share that? There was something in me that knew something's not right here.
Yeah, yeah,
There was something wasn't right, and I couldn't put my finger on it, but now I know.
yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting, just what you mentioned there. I do feel, and I hear it with a lot of people that email me, that they go through like a grief stage after
Yeah.
something like this, where it has been all love and light and all of that stuff, that they have this like I call it the awakening from the fake awakening. So you wake up and then you fall into that stuff, and then you realize, oh, actually that's more deception. But that one's really hard to let go of, because like I said before, it all feels so good. So it does take courage to look at this stuff again, like you say, taking a step back and thinking, well, hang on a minute, this doesn't really feel right. And a lot of people, they will ignore that and ignore that. So it is very very brave to look at this stuff again. Um, so we're gonna wrap it up shortly. I could talk to you guys for ages, but
No.
Same.
I just wanted to get Ray. I didn't really get to get into your story too
That's
much, but
that's okay. We can always do another Zoom if that's all right with you guys,
yeah,
And
I just think that's a really nice place to leave it, with that message there, Ebony,
uh,
of taking responsibility, and yeah, there is love and light, so to speak, but we need that fuck you as well, as you say. I think that's a great way of putting it, and more than anything, the discernment. So, is there anything that you guys want to add? Ebony, can you just tell people where they can find you? Same with you, Ray, and where they can find the documentary. I know it's on your YouTube channel.
Right. So you can find the Exposed documentary series. It is currently posted for free to anyone who needs this information at my personal tarot channel at White Crow Tarot. White Crow Tarot. You can also look up the documentary at exposeddoc.com, exposeddoc.com. And that's immediately how anyone can look us up and figure out what's going on there.
Yeah, I will put the links in the description. Ray, anything that you want to add to that?
yes, I just wanted to say you can I'm on YouTube, and you can find me at the Quantum Angle. That's my channel, and I'm going to have more content coming soon. Got a lot to do in the editing room, but
It'd be interesting to see what direction you guys content goes to.
absolutely. It's just really about bringing this truth to people, and really shining a light and exposing, and also even beyond the spiritual corruption. That's the where Ebony's Exposed documentary is focusing its series. But there's so much that's going on in the world. Obviously, this spiritual corruption is just one layer of it. So I feel that there's so much that we can talk about, and Exposed can go in so many ways. So we're kind of just being inspired divinely, and but more or less the content is going to be focused on bringing to light that which has been hidden, and not just in spiritual corruption, but in other aspects of our daily lives. So just to help people with discernment, and get them to think from a different perspective and take these things into consideration, and hearing accounts from people, real life everyday people sharing their experiences. And Ebony also, she's taken she's spearheading the documentary, but also she's had direct experience with these people, with Eldora and Siman. So she also has a story, but having her skills and the time that she's invested, it's been really valuable. And you as well, Tony. We really appreciate what you guys
Really
are
appreciate you.
Yeah, and please don't hesitate. Oh, one last note, Tony. It was me that actually shared the link to Ebony's documentary. I had sent you an email, so I was
Oh,
that
it was
guy.
you. Oh, okay. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm sure I would have. I'm sure I would. I think, to be fair, I think I got a lot of emails
I
with that.
understand. I
Yeah.
understand. Yeah,
So,
and I said I bet he's gonna look at this. So
oh,
I
I was
just
all over it like a rat.
yeah, I
I'm
just
sorry.
titled it a certain way, and then I
Yeah,
just
yeah. I was like, I couldn't have watched it quicker. I think as soon as I saw the first link, I was like, and I was like, I need to get these people on the channel. I really do. But I didn't
yeah.
know, because I didn't know if, because of what I do, maybe there might still be some needle there or something like that. And
I
yeah,
understand.
but were they
Yeah, yeah.
were they aware of the video that I made?
Yes, actually,
Yes, they were.
yes. Oh, and absolutely, what I heard was Eldora went absolutely ballistic when she saw your video. So well done, and that's why you were one of the first people, Tony, when Ebony had released the first episode. I was like, I got to share it with Tony Sayers.
Yeah,
So.
and also, yeah, for the point of the documentary, people listening to this, they're going to gravitate over there and watch it as well and share it. So I think
Absolutely.
it's got about 7,000 hits now. Hopefully, we can double that with this interview at least.
Yes.
And
Yes. Absolutely. And I'd love to share your video on my channel.
As well.
yeah,
So,
yeah, and
so
we'll get people out of the trance, this spiritual trance that they've fallen under, and get them on the right path, or at least guide them to a safer place.
yeah, no, it's
Well,
a
just
real
realize that they can trust their discernment. That was the biggest message in this
Yeah,
whole, like, you guys do trust trust yourselves. That's the whole point of any of this. Is the reason we fell into this is because we didn't.
and
So
we
don't
doubted our
don't ignore that. Don't ignore that inner voice that's telling you
right.
something's off.
absolutely.
That's always right. Every time I go against that little voice, all hell breaks loose.
It's so true. It's so true. Don't ignore your intuition like we did. When you feel that intuitive nudge, just listen to it. And, that's pretty much, if you follow that, anybody who follows that, they're going to be just fine. But like Ebony says, and Tony says, just trust your inner voice, your inner guidance, and your
Absolutely.
intuition.
Well, I think you're lovely people, and I think you're incredibly brave and courageous. So thank you for speaking out and doing this interview. And yeah, guys, don't forget, give the video a like, share this everywhere, along with the documentary, of course. And yeah, great to have you on. Take care, everyone.
Thank you, Tony.
Take care.